Highlights from the German Bundesliga, then you're free to decide if football was really made in Germany. All right, I'm told that our friend from Washington, Voice of America's Sonny Young is joining us live on the show. Hello, Sonny.
Good evening, Yemi. It's great to be back on Sports Tonight. Hello to you and all your viewers.
All right, it's nice to have you, Sonny. We're interested in talking to you about Russia, the doping scandal and the corruption. But let's start with football. I want you to comment about the 5 cleared candidates for the race.
Well, I was hoping that we'd have 2 African candidates, Yemi. Musa Biliti from Liberia and Tokyo Sexwale from South Africa. Biliti was kind of given the boot by the FIFA Ethics Committee. They said they conducted these integrity tests on the candidates. So that leaves just 1 African candidate now, Tokyo Sexwale from South Africa. I agreed with a couple of your guests earlier, Yemi. I think it's going to be really hard for the South African to get votes from outside of Africa, considering that he's basically going up against 2 European candidates, Champagne, the Frenchman, and then you have that Swiss-Italian, Infantino. Then you have 2 candidates from the Middle East, from Jordan and Bahrain. Those are the 5 cleared candidates, according to FIFA. So I think it's going to be a real tough road for him to get the necessary votes. Okay. And he's going to have to do a lot of lobbying outside of Africa to win the election on February 26th. I guess there are still some question marks about Michel Platini, that he could possibly be cleared to enter the race. But right now, I think it's going to be a tough road to get the first African in office.
Okay, let's allow you to talk about Russia. How do you react to all of the things coming out of Russia? And now that the Russians are saying they might admit to some of those things about systemic doping that is going on, they might admit, maybe not to all the charges, but to some. How do you react to that?
Yeah, the likely scenario from my viewpoint, Yemi, I can see the IAAF Council maybe giving a temporary suspension on Russia's athletic program. In other words, they might say, we're going to suspend you from all international competition until you meet certain requirements regarding the laboratories, perhaps allowing more international observers to conduct drug tests. And then if they show some progress or meet certain requirements, I could see the suspension being lifted ahead of the Rio Games. Politically, Yemi, I think to ban the Russians, and again, this would be the Russian track team, not all of the Russian sports programs, to ban them from the Olympics next year in Rio, I think that it could have some severe repercussions. This report by the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, you got to keep in mind, it comes at a time when Russia has really raised its profile in international sports. In 2013, the Russians hosted the World Athletics Championships in Moscow. The following year, they hosted the Winter Olympics in Sochi. They also, I think, hosted recently World Swimming Championships. And of course, we have the World Cup coming up in 2018. So yeah, my gut says we're going to see Russian athletes competing in Rio next year. That said, I can also, if these allegations are proven correct, Yemi, I can see some of the athletes from Russia that won medals in London 3 years ago. I can see them losing medals. In particular, the women's 800 meters. Russia won 2 medals in that competition, and I think the IAAF already has asked for those medal winners to, basically be banned, possibly for life. From athletics. And also in terms of the scope of doping in athletics, Yemi, it's hard to single out Russia because, I mean, if you look at the history of that sport, I sort of look at the doping problem maybe starting at the 1988 Olympics with Ben Johnson from Canada. Such a, that was arguably the biggest story
high-profile
from the 88 Olympics when he tested positive after winning the gold in the 100 meters. Since then, we've had Marion Jones from the United States, the other sprinter, Justin Gatlin from the United States, who was, he won the gold, I think, in 2004. Then he was banned from competition. So what I'm saying is, you know, you had the Chinese. The Chinese have been also implicated in athletics for doping. So I think it's much larger than Russia.
Okay, okay. But do you agree? Some conspiracy theorists are saying it's a Western agenda. I know you're going to laugh at it, but some are saying it's a Western agenda against Russia. Do you share any of those sentiments?
Well, I can see where the Russians, you know, might have that sentiment. I think one of the quotes I read was that it's a political hit job by the West and maybe by the United States. The Russian sports minister Mutko, I think is his name. Coincidentally, he was also on Russia's World Cup committee for the 2018 World Cup, one of the top officials in that. So there's like a spillover effect. You know, the United States greatly disappointed that it didn't win the World Cup. And then we've got this FIFA scandal involving the FBI. And so there's a lot of, I can see that sentiment being, you know, there might be some validity to that, Yemi.
Okay. With all of this, the integrity of the sports, athletics, has been called to question. What do you think will happen to former champions, current champions, the way that the fans will look at these athletes when the question hangs that maybe these people have been involved one way or the other?
Yeah, I think it really brings a dark cloud over the sport of athletics. In terms of WADA, that World Anti-Doping Agency, one of the things I've discovered in the wake of this Russia doping scandal is they actually, for some of their testing, they contract out. In other words, they don't have WADA officials conducting the drug tests.
Okay.
They might contract out to the various national committees from various countries, not just in Russia, but also, say, in Kenya, in Jamaica, or wherever around the world. And so there's also this sense that maybe the oversight isn't there when it comes to, you know, the handling of these drug tests. Part of this Russian scandal is that there were state agents in the laboratories coercing the scientists and the athletes, and you know, some of this might come out, might not come out. But again, the latest I heard, Yemi, was that the IAAF Council would be meeting on Friday, according to Sebastian Coe, the new president, to discuss possible sanctions against Russia. So I think we might have a better picture by the end of the week.
All right, Sonny, I want to thank you for your time on the show tonight. We do hope that you'll be able to join us again next week.
Thank you, Yemi, and good night from Washington.
All right. That's our friend from Washington, Voice of America's Sonny Young. Well, a lot of, guys, a lot of interesting things came out from the things that he has said, and I think we should just leave it at that. Tomorrow, we'll wait to see which direction the IAAF will go with regards to Russia. You know, maybe, I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe the Russians will probably not participate in next year, but I doubt.
There's still a long time.
And the Russian president is already saying that, look, you can't make people who have not committed crimes to suffer for those who have, because you cannot say it is all Russian athletes. So it's a real difficult situation. Then you throw in the fact that some are saying, like Sonny said, a political hit
Of course, Russia winning the World Cup.
You can't really rule that out. But guys, let's we are on the home stretch. But guys, let's quickly throw this in. Boxing, quickly. Klitschko. Usually Klitschko doesn't talk about his opponents, but I think Tyson Fury has gotten under his skin and is beginning to say a whole lot of things. And you were telling me about one or two comments that he made about Tyson Fury, what he was going to do, and he's already thinking about his next fight, even before stepping into the ring against Tyson Fury.
So I think Klitschko has always been very, very suave, very, very suave and very calm. You know, he's never actually, he's usually never